After the much postponed APC National Convention, which took place over the weekend, and the emergence of the former governor of Nasarawa State, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, as the national chairman of the party has been thrown into a conundrum of selecting the next presidential flag bearer, and if successful in the 2023 presidential elections, will ultimately become the leader of the country. Which is the focus of this video, the conundrum of getting the right leader that has been so elusive to the country. Let's visit the archive to see when Nigeria started the search for the right leader. Follow me.
Major Kaduna Nzobo's speech announcing the January 15th, 1966 coup. In the name of the Supreme Council of the Revolution of the Nigerian Armed Forces, I declare martial law. The aim of the Revolutionary Council is to establish a strong, united and prosperous nation, free from corruption and internal strife. Our methods of achieving this is strictly military, but we have no doubt that every Nigerian will give us the maximum cooperation by assisting the regime and not disturbing the peace.
Major Nziogwu, can you please give me an account of the night of the coup in Kaduna?
Well, it's rather something like the longest day. We started this off on the night of the 13th of January when a night exercise was planned by the military college, which I command.
The coup now begins to look more and more like a straightforward military revolt against corruption in government, and one that's likely to last. It has popular backing. What's not so clear is who its real backers are. The man at present being put forward is the army commander, General Agui Ironsi, who arrived at the heavily guarded Parliament buildings to hold the new administration's first press conference.
The federal military government in Nigeria has taken over the administration of the country. Functions of the federal military government will be exercised by the Supreme Military Council. My main concern is to restore law and order as soon as possible.
There was a bloodless coup today in Nigeria, which is Black Africa's biggest and richest nation and the world's 8th largest oil producer. The overthrow of strongman Major General Yakubu Gowon reportedly was engineered by the head of his personal bodyguards. Gowon received word of the coup while at a meeting of the Organization of African Unity in Uganda. He would say only, "There's nothing to worry about." Gowon, who led a 1966 military coup and put down the bloody Biafran civil war 6 years ago, had been confronted by growing student and labor unrest and charges of government corruption.
When President Shagari swept back to power, the warning signs were loud and clear. Nigeria's economy in a terrible mess, widespread corruption at the highest government levels. Shagari tried to combat both. Only 2 days ago he announced tough austerity measures. But Nigeria's debts have piled up alarmingly since the oil boom of the 70s collapsed. There are acute food shortages, chronic unemployment, and health and education services in a shambles. And in a country bedeviled by tribal animosities, Shagari's appeals for unity have been ignored.
We don't want division. We don't want north-south confrontation anymore. We want all Nigerians, wherever they are, to regard themselves as brothers and sisters.
New Year's Eve 20 months ago, the military deposed the civilian democratically elected President Shagari. The aim to remove the scourge of years of corruption, where Nigeria's oil-rich economy was kept afloat by billions of pounds of kickbacks and slush money, while much of the population live in poverty. The new leader, General Buhari, had 2 days' notice from officers organizing the coup that he would be the new head of state. His qualification, his political and economic experience. Crippled by the oil slump, a $15 billion debt, spiraling prices and immense economic problems, his regime rashly promised a massive restructuring program, especially in agriculture.
It had a duty to intervene to clean up the economic mess and set this country once again on the path of sanity. The Nigerian armed forces could not stand idly by while this country was drifting towards a dangerous state of political and economic collapse.
Gentlemen, please sit down.
Gentlemen, as has already been announced, the Supreme Military Council met yesterday and after an exhaustive deliberation approved your appointments as military governors for the 19 states of the Federation. Fraud, indiscipline, corruption, squandermania, misuse and abuse of public office for self or group aggrandizement, which had assumed debilitating proportions in the last few years, will be dealt with ruthlessly, no matter whoever may be involved.
But almost identical words were addressed today to Africa's most densely populated nation by Brigadier Joshua Doganyaro, who announced Nigeria's 6th military takeover in 25 turbulent years of independence.
The government has started to drift. The economy does not seem to be getting any better as we witness daily increased inflation.
Well, Buhari has not delivered the goods. He has not come up with a comprehensive economic policy. He has built himself into a corner.
Action with Buhari had been evident for months, and his removal somehow was expected. Tonight, communications are cut, but this man, General Babangida, the Army Chief of Staff, the hand behind the last coup, the hidden power behind Buhari, and other past military leaders, is thought to have taken control himself. The danger of another coup, though, remains.
I think that the next coup will probably depend on whether the officers, who hopefully will be announced later today, are the sort of people who can inspire Nigerians with something of a sense of purpose. If they don't do that, then Nigeria could be on a very slippery slope towards, at the worst, civil war, a lot of hunger, starvation. After all, there are nearly 100 million people, and oil revenues are nosediving. I think this will be one of the last chances.
A visible improvement in the standard of living of our people will not come overnight, of course. It is nonetheless feasible to take a meaningful action now which would alleviate the deprivation and misery of the large majority of our population within a short time. Thus, the administration will, in particular, take measures to check our galloping inflation and soaring unemployment. You are all aware of the circumstances which led to the change in the leadership of the government of this country, and I need not to repeat it here. Let me first of all congratulate all of you for a well-deserved appointment as members of the Armed Forces Ruling Council, a body which now replaces the former Supreme Military Council as the highest ruling organ of government. Your selection was made on your personal merit and experience, and not because you represent sectional or particular geographical areas of the country.
Fellow Nigerian citizens, on behalf of the patriotic and well-meaning people of the Middle Belt and the southern parts of this country, I, Major Gideon Oka, wish to happily inform you of the successful outing of the dictatorial, corrupt, drug baronish administration of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida.
Sequel to the resignation of the former head of the interim national government and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Chief Ernest Shonekan, and my subsequent appointment as head of state and Commander-in-Chief at the most trying time in the history of our country. Politically, economically, and socially, there were lots of uncertainties. Things appeared bleak, and the atmosphere was heavy with uncertainties. Consequently, the following decisions come into immediate effect. The interim national government is hereby dissolved. The national and state assemblies are also dissolved. The state executive councils are dissolved. All local governments stand dissolved. The National Electoral Commission is hereby dissolved. The two political parties are hereby dissolved.
Those were the military government giving reason for taking power. Even today's politicians will rule out economy, security, and corruption as the reason for wanting to be the president of the country. Take a listen.
We shall not fail. The beneficiaries of corruption in all forms will fight back with all the foul means at their disposal. We shall be firm with them. There will be no sacred cows. Nobody, no matter who and where, will be allowed to get away with the breach of the law or the perpetration of corruption.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody. At home, we face enormous challenges: insecurity, pervasive corruption, the hitherto unending and seemingly impossible fuel and power shortages are the immediate concerns. We are going to tackle them head on.
Right after Nigeria's independence, we've been faced with the enormous challenge of getting the right leader to superintend and manage the resources of this country, where the citizens will have a sense of belonging, and where the government will guarantee the basic rights of the citizens, the right to live in a secure environment and not be afraid that your freedom will be taken away by bandits, kidnappers, or terrorists. The right to dignity, which seems bastardized by extreme poverty, as well as provision of social amenities like education, electricity, healthcare, good road network, shelter, etc., etc. For the love of God and for crying out loud, these are just basic rights of the citizens. It is not rocket science. Why do these leaders make us feel that these things are so hard? Why do they make us feel that they have bereft of possible solutions to tackle these hydra-headed problems that they have allowed to fester for many years? Challenges that have made this country to remain in a comatose state. So when are we going to pass this basic to something like building the largest auto manufacturing company in West Africa, having the biggest tourism hub in Africa, sending our scientists to space? Nigerian politicians are economic saboteurs, willfully undermining the economy of the country so that they continue to have political campaign slogans and promises. I'm going to build you road. I'm going to provide healthcare. I'm going to provide electricity. I'm a unifier. I'm going to unite the country. I'm going to stop kidnapping and banditry, while surreptitiously fanning the embers of disunity and sabotaging the very same thing they promised they're going to provide. That's Nigerian politicians for you. What a shame. Nothing but a failed leadership. Just a few days ago, imagine bandits invading the Kaduna airports, stopped a Lagos-bound commercial flight from taking off, and killed a security guard that was attached to the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. Just watch the video.
We believe that these guys were passing through towards Riawa and then into Riawa forest areas. And then seeing this guard here was just an opportunity for them to engage him, just to send a kind of message. It was just an opportunity. It's not like they had any intention of attacking the airport. You came in from the airport, from the tarmac area to this area. You saw the miles you covered. You know, a lot of kilometers you covered to get to this place. So there's no way they would have entered the airport to come and cause problems there, because the insinuation outside is that the airport was attacked and taken over by bandits or terrorists.
What is this army officer saying? Was the airport invaded or not? Which one is they didn't plan to attack the airport, but the airport was attacked? If security has been beefed up around the airport, how did the bandits find their way into the airport if indeed Kaduna is safe? It was as if these bandits were just waiting to contradict the army officer's claim that indeed Kaduna is safe and that they can attack whenever they want to attack, because 48 hours later, these bandits struck. This time around, they attacked Abuja-Kaduna train carrying about 1,000 passengers, leaving scores of dead in their trail. Well, it's a very unfortunate thing that this is happening to our country. This is so heart-wrenching. I am utterly speechless. My condolences to those who have lost loved ones. May God give them the fortitude to bear this very unfortunate loss of their loved ones. The question is, how safe is Kaduna? Just in the last couple of days, over 120 people have been killed in Kaduna State alone. What is really going on? Is this a failure of leadership? Every successive government, or even those who are just aspiring, would always give reason for wanting to take over the command and control of our resources as economy, security, and corruption. Reasons as old as Nigeria, yet they never get it right. From the military government right to the civilian government, it has always been security, economy, and corruption. Where does the solution lie? With the abysmal performance of these successive governments, have you guys noticed a certain peculiarity amongst them? The performance of the incumbent government makes the underperformance of his predecessor a child's play, making us wonder, how bad can it ever get? This is probably why a failed preceding government, who failed on all key performance indicators, misfiring on all cylinders, would have the temerity to applaud his failure as an achievement. What an irony. This only goes to support the statement that in Nigeria, no matter how bad the performance of the predecessor was, the new government will be so bad such that the former president will be seeing his government as best performing in Nigeria. What a joke. If that is the trajectory, then I fear for the performance of the new president. And this is why I have to say this. I'm not calling out former President Obasanjo. We all know who Chief Obasanjo was when he was calling the shot, and still is, except that now he has suddenly become a reformist, a serial letter writer who sees himself as President General, according to Professor Sage. Chief Obasanjo is seen all over the place playing the ostrich, as if none of the challenges we are facing today ever existed when he was president. Take a listen.
We heard former President Olusegun Obasanjo what he said. He said, if the ICPC and the EFCC were to have done their jobs properly, some of the presidential hopefuls will be in jail by now. Let me get your reaction on that statement from the former president.
Unfortunately, many of them are not in jail precisely because the instruments that should have put them in jail were abused by people like President Obasanjo himself when he was in office. Because the truth of the matter was, the EFCC and other such agencies were used to harass people. For example, we know what happened in Anambra State. We remember what happened in Plateau State, when in fact, of an assembly of 24, where 2/3 were required to remove a governor. The legislators were taken out of state, essentially incarcerated, and a minority of them were used to remove a sitting governor. Contrary to the instrument of our constitution, we were all alive. When Chris Nwabweze Ngige was not only removed from office, he was locked up in the toilet. He was lucky, because the man who locked him up and who told this country that he was acting on orders, was an assistant inspector general of police. I was in the House of Rep at the time. He was lucky because those who incarcerated Joshua Dariye were not of that high rank. It was a sergeant who locked Dariye, a man with constitutional immunity, up.
Let's even go to Fayoshi. When he was impeached on October 15.
So when I came back in the night, I came around 1 a.m. They didn't know who I came in with. I drove through the back door, and entered the back room. So I put him upstairs. So he was there for 90 days. There was swimming pool indoor in the house and everything. So he was there for 90 days. He lived in my house. Enjoying himself. Until I told him, I said, you must go and report to EFCC. Because you are a free Nigerian, you cannot continue living this kind of life. Whether they will kill you or they will leave you, go and report to them. I reported to them. That was what happened.
I am in pain. I am in severe pain. I can't touch this neck anymore. If anything happens to me, the Inspector General of Police should be held accountable.
But I thought he wanted to be killed because knowing Obasanjo, Obasanjo killed so many people, directly or indirectly. You know that, including the one of Oyo, the Bola Ige, all of them, he killed them. He tried to kill me. But my God said, no, it's not your time.
We're all alive and well in this country when Chief Obasanjo lobbied the National Assembly and bribed 109 senators with 50 million naira each for a botched third-term bid. Suddenly, he has become a saint who should be listened to. Let's hear what the former governor of Ekiti State has to say about this.
When Obasanjo accuses people and government of the day of corruption, what happened to the 50 million shared during the third term agenda? The donation of 10 million to the Obasanjo library, what do you call that? That is corruption. Go and look for the code of conduct. The funds filled by General Obasanjo and his wealth today. We knew when he came out of prisons. We knew the situation. We knew his wealth when he left office. Who is he accusing? We are telling you again, the moment he says the next one, we will engage him. This is not a country where after serving your own tenure, what you cannot take, you are giving to others. Enough is enough.
Let's even hear what the former Senate President, Senator Ken Nnamani, has to say about this. Take a listen.
The story of what happened with the third term saga has been told by many people. Now it's time for me to tell the story. During the debate on the third term bid of President Obasanjo, I weighed these two competing concepts of the role of a legislator. I decided to marry the two concepts. I wanted senators to vote their mind on the question of whether to amend the constitution to allow President Obasanjo a third term.
After listening to Senator Ken Nnamani, seriously speaking, when this third term agenda was first rumored, I didn't believe that a democratically elected president, after serving out his term, would desire tenure elongation to the extent of bribing lawmakers to alter the constitution in order to pave way for his third term bid. I just couldn't believe it. It's the same Obasanjo, same Chief Obasanjo, that is parading himself all over the place, calling on third force, criticizing every government except his own with depreciating comments. In Senate climb, people like Chief Obasanjo should be apologizing to Nigerians. Excuse me. In Senate climb, people like Obasanjo should be apologizing to Nigerians and not be parading himself as a political solution to our problems. Because it is people like him, leaders like him, that have kept Nigeria in this situation that we are. Because if every leader, every president did his own bits, the rot, the accumulated rot we're experiencing in this country, this moment, would have been drastically reduced. If only they have put Nigeria first, rather than myself, my family, and my friends. Why do we continue to applaud these cesspools of deceits who are infected by enzymes of greed, whose track record will continue to make us a dystopia nation? Let's break this jinx. The time to break this jinx is now. 2023 elections gives us an opportunity to choose the right leader, the leader that will take us out of our economic woes. That will be all for today. Thank you for finding the time to watch my video. If you like the content of this video, please do give it a thumbs up, strike on that notification bell, drop your comments down below, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Remain awesome, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace.